Hey, what's up, fam? Oh man, oh man. Get your wallets out, get your brainstorming going, feel the pressure, feel the vibe, feel the energy of betting on PowerSlap. Today, we've got Henry Nehring. He comes in and explains for novices, even I would say up to a little bit of expert about betting on PowerSlap specifically. Excuse me. A lot of fun. It was we did about 40 something minutes and it flew by. So we might have him back on. I thought it was super interesting. And man, talk about a PowerSlap nerd this guy is. Unbelievable. Much respect. Had a blast. Grab your beverages, take a listen, and always remember 3, 2, 1. That's a knockout.
3, 2, 1, yeah, that's a knockout. They call me kamikaze, put you in heaven's lobby. On gas, no brakes, you can never stop me. Nah, no, you can never stop me. Yeah, cause I'm the PowerSlap king.
Slapson, baby!
Hey, Henry, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. It's very interesting having someone else introduce me for once instead of me having to do the introduction. I love this.
Well, hey, hopefully the rest of it goes just as smooth as the introduction should go. But if you're ready, man, we'll get into it.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Slap Son. We got the man in the building. Don't let the blinds to the side fool you. We got our eyes open wide for Henry Nehring. We're going to talk about how to bet on PowerSlap, and he might have a little surprise. Competing? Maybe not. We'll find out. Let's give it up for Henry, everybody.
Thank you very much. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, dude, let's just talk about it. We were going back and forth on DMs a little bit, and one of the coolest aspects of PowerSlap is you can literally start watching the event or before the event, go out, get a drink, and actually bet on the upcoming match that you haven't seen yet. It's very wager friendly. It makes it a bit more exciting. And when we were DMing back and forth, you're kind of you've got your eyes on that and you know how to go about it. You know how to win, and you had some interesting insights. So if you don't mind, just introduce yourself, a little bit of your media background in the arm wrestling world, and how you got attracted to betting on PowerSlap specifically.
All right. So my name's Henry Nehring. I have been sports betting for quite a few years now, and I have always been interested in sports betting at the thought of like you can watch sports and make money by watching sports is so crazy to me. But a lot of sports are impossible to bet on, like soccer, they really know how to set the odds. Baseball, they know how to set the odds. Football, they know how to set the odds. But then fight sports are much more difficult. So I got involved in professional arm wrestling just as a fan for some years. And I was like, damn, I could really bet on arm wrestling. So I started betting on arm wrestling and started turning a profit, making, a few $1,000s each event. And I had always been interested in PowerSlap because I was just like, I thought it was fun, it just seemed like a cool sport. So I watched it probably, when was the first time I watched, maybe it was like PowerSlap 8 or 9, if I had to guess. But
Oh,
I'd
that's cool.
like seen...
That's when we got into it was PowerSlap 8, so that's cool.
Yeah, there you go. So, but I had like seen like everyone saw videos of it. I mean, everybody. But I like really started watching maybe PowerSlap 8, and I would just watch every event and just casually as a fan, maybe for 2 or 3, and then I was like, let's start paper betting and let's just see. So paper betting is basically where you'll like for example, you'll bet like $1 on every outcome you think will happen. And you'll bet $10, and at the end, let's say you have 13, you go, okay, so I would have made 35%. So I did that for 3 events in a row, and each event I made roughly a 30% return. So I was like, okay, so just with like very minimal effort, I'm okay at this. So then PowerSlap 13 was the first time I was like, I am going to put in real money. So I put in a good chunk of money, and ended up making about 30, it was like 40% returns. I was bet on dumpling, which was one of the most disgusting robberies in the history of the sport. Had that not happened, I would have maybe turned about 80%. But even with the robbery, I still made money. I will admit, though, I also bet on Wolverine, and I think I might have lucked out a little bit on that one. So I'll admit I maybe got lucky one time, and I got unlucky one time. So yeah. But yeah, then PowerSlap 14, after 13 went so well, I was like, holy shit, I can make so much money from this. Like real sports betting, real betting odds, high limits. Like I'm not used to this from arm wrestling. So I was like, I am going to put so much effort into this event and I'm going to get it right. And I put a bunch of effort in. I predicted all 8 of the main card matches correct, including 2 underdogs. And then one of the early prelim matches was James Stonier and Darius Destroyer. I also predicted Darius would win that one. And I also predicted it by knockout. So I predicted all 9 of the matches I tried to predict correctly, and I predicted the method of victory in 7 of 9 of them.
Holy cow. Is that sustainable in the fight game? Because that's
Well-
amazing, bro.
What was interesting was I told my dad afterwards, I go, Dad, this is going to be the best I ever do. I mean, realistically, am I ever going to sweep the card and get the method of victory in 7 of 9 of the fights correct ever? Like, I hope I can match this in the future. I'm never going to do much better. But yeah, like, and realistically, let's just say we're working from there. So if you were to parlay all those things together, it's probably about 130 to 1 for me to have gotten like lucky. So because of that, I'm clearly skilled to some degree. Let's just say I do way worse this next event. Let's say I got 75% of them correct. That's still some good money. And
Yeah.
there's plenty of events each year, and I can bet a lot more instead of, betting the couple of thousand I did last time. I'm going to be betting maybe more like five figures this next event, like more serious money, going out to Vegas, play some bets at the real bookies and stuff. So instead of just like online casinos or whatever. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
but I will never do better than that, but I can only hope, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, it really is just coming down to the odds, right? Sometimes the odds are in your favor, sometimes they're not. Is there a big difference in the betting odds online or at the actual bookies in Vegas?
The bookies in Vegas, the primary things that they do. So first things first, I know they're going to pay me. Online casinos can be a little wishy-washy versus a casino in Vegas, because the fact that they're backed by the federal government and stuff, they do have to pay you out. They can ban you from playing right after, but they have to pay you out. So that's a huge advantage of betting in person. Betting in person, I do get slightly better odds, and I also get way higher limits. So these online casinos might only take a few $100s. So I maxed out 2 separate online casinos, and one of them banned me afterwards. So
Oh,
I'm going to
man.
need to find new casinos, right? Versus if I go to bet in person, they might ban me, but after they ban me, I've already taken, 10 grand from them, and I know they're going to pay me out. Versus some of these other casinos are a little more wishy-washy. I'm not super sure. So yeah, I appreciate that from an in-person casino.
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, well, you just said it, right? Like online, there's a little bit of you never know, and in person, whether they're going to kick you out or not, at least you got your cash and you can bounce.
Yeah,
So,
precisely.
so let's pretend nobody's ever bet on sports, but let's focus on PowerSlap. What is the process? How do you look at who you're going to bet on? And then how do you look at the parlay stuff where it's like, oh no, I really feel like this is going to be a knockout round 2, something like that. Is it all gut, or do you kind of study the athletes beforehand?
So obviously I study the athletes extensively. The first thing that's easy is you got to understand what you're even looking at. So most people, when they look at PowerSlap, it's just, oh, well, it's 2 guys hitting each other. But if you don't really understand what you're looking at, you can't bet on the sport. So like the first thing that I needed to learn was like, what's actually going on? Like when I watch the sport, what's happening? So for example, a classic thing that proves to me many of the athletes are not too knowledgeable about the own sport they compete in is people will say, well, he clubbed me and I still didn't get knocked out. That makes no fucking sense. Hitting someone here is a terrible shot. Hitting the legal slap is the most effective strike possible. So the legal strike of leading with your palm, the only thing that's advantageous is potentially leading with your palm
For a
on the
palm
chin.
push.
So like right here. But even then, as long as you're not coming at them, if you're coming this way, does it matter if your fingers are here or here with the palm? So it doesn't really matter if you're leading with your palm or you're not. It kind of has no effect. The main things are if they in some way stepping can generate additional force, or if in some way they may be flung forward instead of doing a proper slap. These can affect force, but the most effective slap is the legal slap. So for example, if I look at a fight like Dumpling and Dane Viernes, so Dane is the hitman, right? I get the 2 mixed up. There's Dane and Lane. I think Dane is the hitman.
And they're both brothers, which doesn't help. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Dane, the Hawaiian hitman, not the Hawaiian assassin or whatever. Yeah.
So if we're looking at their match as an example, so Dane won that one, and it was a disgusting robbery. It's one of the worst in the sport's history. He absolutely should have lost. But in the rematch, who should you back? You should back Dane, because even with him clubbing, he was still causing a lot of damage to Dumpling. So if he was hitting clean, can you imagine what would have happened to Dumpling? So I would say right now, if they book that lineup again, I'm going to guess Dane will be the underdog and Dane will win that rematch, because it would I'm not certain. Maybe Dumpling comes in stronger. You never really know, right? But Dane deserves to be the favorite in the rematch. just because even with suboptimal strikes, he was rattling the Dumpling, and Dumpling, who hit clean in all 5 rounds like he always does, wasn't able to do anything to Dane. So because of that, even though, looking at it simply, you might think, well, it was a robbery, so this next time, if they get it right, Dumpling will win. Not the case. So in a rematch, I will be betting on Dane, because as long as he can just not commit with some of the most egregious fouls ever, he should win that match fairly easily.
So for you, from a betting perspective, you really need to dial in certain aspects to have any type of, consistent chance of winning. And so from when you were talking, my thought that came in was, it's not so much about, like Dumpling and Dane, for example. They both hit hard, all that kind of stuff. Some was clean, some wasn't. But are you saying that it kind of just comes down to the chin more than the strike when it comes to someone who's going to win?
Well, it kind of depends. So it depends on what weight class we're in. So if in the lower weight categories, so for, let's say, 155, 170, 185, and kind of 205, those are like the knockout weight categories. Those are the weight categories where lots of guys are getting put to sleep. In the heavier weight categories, we see much less knockouts.
True.
So if I were to give you a prompt right now, and I were to say, name a knockout that happened at 205 and above pounds, and the athlete getting knocked out was less than 30, you probably couldn't name one time that's happened. So typically when a guy's heavy and he's not an unk, he's probably not going to hit the floor, typically speaking. Now, the only guy that kind of fucks that up is DeBell, because DeBell is just that strong that he can actually knock out these guys that, you look at a guy like Nate Bernard. Nate Bernard ate 3 bombs from James Seekman that were well placed. Those were good shots from James. DeBell put him out in 1, right?
Right.
DeBell is, I think, the exception, not the rule, when it comes to the amount of power that a heavyweight can generate. He is certainly in a field of his own and needs to be studied by the other guys, because something that kid's doing is right. But for example, like DeBell's chin, it's not notable at all. He's 20-something years old, and he's 260 pounds. Guys who are built like that don't get knocked out very often. So it's not actually that crazy that he's got a good chin. You look at a guy like Dorian Perez. Dorian Perez does not weird me out at all. It makes perfect sense. The guys that don't make sense to me are like Stevie Ray Payne, for example. He has like the worst chin ever, and he's like 20-something. That makes no sense. There are a few guys who are even in the heavier weight categories, and they're young and they're still being knocked out. But typically speaking, when we look at the guys that are known for their bad chin, like Vern Cathy, for example, maybe KO Chris, some of the guys that have a worse durability of taking a hit, they're all older and they're in the lighter weight categories.
Yeah, I think that's fair, man. It's so funny because everyone knows the fight game is a young man's game. Like that's no secret. We have anomalies here and there, but for the vast majority, the Tom Brady's of the fight world that can go, later in age, guys that come to mind was Chuck Liddell's sparring partner. He got into it late. I'm forgetting his name right now. But you also got, like, in the same vein of Chuck Liddell, typically that's how they go, right? When they get older, it's lights out, their body protects them, and they go out quick. So in slap, it's so specific and so, no pun intended, in your face from jump. It really is a young man's game. Yeah. So to see those guys that are older, like Vern and those guys, props to those fuckers, man, because they still got out there and they do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But a guy like DeBell, who is young and has that chin and also has that power, it's interesting because we're finally starting to see guys. I don't know if you want to use the legacy is the right word, man, because the sport's so young. But like you have guys like DeBell and Babyface that seem to keep doing their thing. They're on these tears that no one really has had in specifically PowerSlap before. So you can always rely on those guys when you're placing bets, or they're wild cards because they are on such a tear. You don't know when it's going to happen for them.
So the most confident bet, and unfortunately I didn't have access to this one, but it was the over-under on rounds of DeBell and West. The over-under was set at 7.5 rounds. I would have put probably my house, my mom's house, and maybe my grandparents' house is on the under, because I said to my dad before the event, I would put, probably that would be my biggest bet of the event if I could bet on one round. Like DeBell will knock him out in one round. Wes got away with a flinch, so ended up being on the second. Because and this is where we go back to knowing what you're looking at. A lot of people don't realize when they look at a strike what impacts it. So this right here needs to land on something meaningful. Any strike that you've ever seen that knocks somebody out, this point of the hand hits something meaningful. It
Meaning
either hits
the temple or right on their jaw, something like that.
never the temple. If you hit a guy up
but
here,
it would work,
you can't
though.
knock him out. It would not. If you hit a guy up here, you can't knock him out because what knocks someone out is the head rotation. So this is why someone like Babyface is so good, because he's so accurate. He is not the strongest guy that he is not stronger than his opponents. He is more accurate than his opponents. That's how he wins. Because if you look at him and like Muniz, for example, both of them don't hit very hard. They both got pretty good shins, but neither of them hit particularly hard. Azael's been put out and won plenty of, or maybe I don't know if he's been put out and won, but he's been put out a couple times now, and took Babyface 4 shots that were all perfectly placed. So I know Babyface is not that strong, but he is so accurate, and he's got such a strong neck that he can take a hit from anybody, and his hits are perfection every single time. The movement of his body, the placement of the hand, everything is like picture perfect. If you wanted to study a guy and say like, okay, who's the guy that like I would want to most emulate, it would be Babyface. He's the perfect slap fighter from how he operates. He's just not the strongest slap fighter. You look at a guy like Zakir. Zakir is the least talented slap fighter on the entire roster. But it doesn't fucking matter because he's so strong that he hits a guy like, for example, how he hit Cooper. That was like a terrible shot. He hit him like here, but he fucking put him out anyways because he's just so strong.
Yeah, the guy's a gorilla. That makes me think of after that match, he picked up, I think it was Isaiah and somebody else, and he's just like walking him around on his shoulders.
He picked up Isaiah and his translator, who probably combined weigh at least 400 pounds maybe, and just walked around with him like it was nothing. I mean, the guy's unbelievable, dude. Without warming up as well. That was him just off the jump. Yeah,
that was him just getting out of bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, so let's go back a few. Explain to the audience the over-under of PowerSlap.
Yeah, so you can bet on the over-under of how many rounds will occur in a match. And this is going to be my angle on the next event. I will not reveal my predictions, but I do have some. Okay. I don't want to, I guess, people tailing me maybe. I don't know. I don't want to impact the betting line at all. But I do have predictions for the over-under on all of the 8 fights that are announced. And the over-under, in my opinion, is the more safe way to predict the sport. So, for example, if there was a Darren Godfrey and Kaylee Kanakoa rematch, Darren's got away with flinching twice, and Kanakoa has never really gotten to apply his power against Darren. Again, right here on the hand. That point of the hand has never touched Darren's chin. So I can't actually say that Kanakoa is just going to lose again. That fight's 50-50. I don't care what anybody says. Even though Darren's won twice in a row, if he's going second, can he actually handle Kanakoa's power? There's a great chance he can't, because he's never actually like faced it before. So he can say, man, I've eaten your slap twice. He's never eaten a single Kanakoa strike ever, because this point of the hand did not touch him. So until that happens, I can't really know. But something like that, I'd love to bet under 2.5 rounds. I'd put my house on that, because I know that these guys are super strong, and Kanakoa definitely, we know, will get knocked out by Darren. Let's be real. We know if that match happens and he gets hit by Darren, he's going to sleep. But we don't know if Darren can actually handle a hit from Kanakoa. That's not been tested, even though they've had 2 matches. So betting on the under in that situation would be much safer than trying to pick a winner.
So it's a matter of, now, do they come out with this? I'm just going to call them lines, but do they come out with the line of over under automatically? Or do you actually go to place a bet and say, hey, this is going to be under 3 rounds or over 3 rounds yourself?
So they set the line, and it will be even odds on both ends on the over or under, or maybe like a slight difference, but they'll set the line themselves. And then let's say everybody's betting the under. Okay, they'll adjust the line and they'll move it down around. But that's typically how those lines are set. They're set by the casino.
Okay. And then as the match gets closer, is it just like any other sport where the betting line can change as far as winner and loser, and also with the over under, or just the winner loser?
All the betting lines are subject to change based on how much people are betting on both sides, right? The casino can kind of tell, let's just say they put DeBell and Wes Men up for a rematch, right? I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wanting to put money on DeBell. And if they see a lot of money on DeBell and no money on Wes, even at whatever odds they set, they will adjust them accordingly. So that way they're starting to get equal money on Wes and DeBell. And that's how every sport works.
Right. Okay. So the over-under, for those that are novices, it's just simply, hey, I think this is going to go over 2 rounds. I think this is going to go under 2 rounds. And the casinos themselves will let you pick which one you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. And then when it comes to betting the winner and loser, it's exactly the same as like, hey, the Patriots against the Raiders or whatever.
Yeah, so it would be the exact same. The only thing that always keeps me up at night with those things is the disqualifications, because they will honor who the disqualification sees as the winner, which is probably one of the most painful things in all of sports betting. You know, there's not a single football game where it's a 40-0 blowout, and then they say at the very end, oh, no, we're actually going to have the win to the other team. There was a disqualification here. That will never happen. So that's the thing that keeps me up at night with PowerSlap is the disqualifications, the excessive fouling. But we saw in this latest event, there was a lot of crazy fouls that don't seem to be getting called. You know, Trujillo clubbed, I think, on the first round, but it was because of Dakota McGregor's flinch, and they didn't call either. He, Zakir clubbed Cooper Housley disgustingly and basically killed him, and they just let it happen. So, you know, it seems as if they kind of don't give a shit anymore about the rules. And I'm all for it because as a sports bettor, I'm fine with to hell with the rules because I don't want disqualifications. I want things to work out normally and consistently. So yeah, like if they don't call clubs at all, that would be a better sport for me. I'd prefer it like that.
Dude, that's funny because you're looking at it from that angle, right? You're not necessarily looking at it as a fan per se. You're looking at it from a bettor. Like, I got cash on this. Let's see what happens. So from that perspective, yeah, the no rules would be fantastic because you just bet, like, you know, the most powerful guy on the podium.
Well, in my opinion, I actually think no rules is better for the fans as well. It sucks the energy out of the room when they call a disqualification for a guy who just got put asleep and he's the winner. That sucks the energy out of the room. I see it. Like, you look at Bordeaux and Quinones, and the whole crowd agreed on PowerSlap 10 that was a bad stoppage. And they were not cheering when the winner was being announced. They were all booing. I don't think it has people leaving with a good taste on their mouth when they see bullshit go down. They can tell when it's not right. It's difficult because the thing with clubbing fouls is obviously we need to call them because we can't have people, you know, palm striking others in the eye or something, for example. But clubbing is fundamentally a terrible strike. The punishment for the clubber is that you didn't hit them, right? How often do we see knockouts on clubs that are like up here? Not once. It's never happened.
Yeah, sure.
And most of the clubbing knockouts are like very borderline clubs. And they were on a knockout that would have happened 10 times worse if he hit the button. You know, like, for example, if Zakir, the shot he hit
Cooper
Housley with, that shot, if that was a clean strike, Cooper would not come back to PowerSlap. I'm telling you right now, he'd be eaten out of a tube right now. Luckily, it was a club, so he just got a little bit knocked out. But had that gone a little differently, it might have been much worse. And, you know, the same thing with Zakir and Bryce. I see Bryce making all these excuses, complaining, but frankly, he got out much luckier. Like, if he got hit clean, he would have gotten knocked out way worse. He's lucky that it was a club and he got away with his win money. And like, he was a lucky guy that night, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But don't you think that, man, that's interesting, right? Because you're looking at the strike so specifically, which is awesome, by the way. I remember when I was interviewing Brandon Rhodes, and I pointed out to him that he kind of has his bullwhip slap at the end of his slap, right? And he was complimentary. He's like, "Oh, dude, you're actually watching it." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I want to know what's up, you know?"
Yeah.
And so, massive compliment to you to zoning in and really doing your own slow-mo, if you will, on every single match and memorizing. I think that's cool, man.
If you know what's interesting, so on YouTube, this is a tool I use. So I'll pause the video, and if you use the period and the comma after it's paused, you can actually go frame by frame. So in preparation for PowerSlap predictions, I will literally watch every strike a guy has ever given and taken frame by frame, every single one. And sometimes I'll even have to go down the rabbit hole of, okay, the guy he hit, let's see every time he's been hit. Has he ever been hit well? So someone like Wes Mena, for example, he's never been hit well a single time. And that's how I knew DeBell was going to completely kill him.
Because DeBell's got that accuracy.
DeBell's got that power and he's got that accuracy. So it's like he's got more power than every guy Wes has been hit with. And Wes keeps going against guys who miss. So Wes, for me, is the single biggest question mark in PowerSlap right now, because I literally don't know how good his chin is, because it's not been tested. All I know is he gets knocked out in one shot by DeBell, and he gets knocked out in two shots by James Seekman because James Seekman hit him good. And everybody else, I have no clue because they all missed. So it's kind of hard to know. But I knew that because DeBell knocked out Nate Bernard, James Seekman couldn't knock out Nate Bernard. James Seekman in 2 clean hits knocked out Wes Mena. So I can do the math and I can see, okay, DeBell hits harder than Nate, or DeBell hits harder than James. James hit hard enough. DeBell is going to completely starch his shit. So I put over $1,000 on DeBell, and which was the most I'd ever bet on PowerSlap at the time on any one given fight. But I was completely certain there was not a single shadow of doubt in my entire, and he was going first. So I was like, there's just no way. But then, Wes flinched and it ended up being the second round. But second round, it was clearly proven DeBell was too strong.
Dude, that's interesting. So when you were breaking all that down, what goes through my head as a bettor is, what is the proper way to start? And this isn't a rhetorical question, meaning, if I'm going to go play blackjack, or excuse me, if I'm going to play roulette and put it all on black, I'm probably not going to start by putting my all on black as like 50 grand. Do you know what I mean? What would be your recommendation to like the fan who's just getting into it, or the sport bettor that wants to try a new sport and learn it? Is like a proper amount, because you can't, if you're going to bet a dollar amount, let's be honest, that's not going to be as exciting and you're not going to make any money, but you probably don't want to bet 5 grand your first time out. You know what I'm saying?
So my advice to people is very simple. Either bet to make money or bet for fun, and choose what you want to do. So most people will do something in between, or they're betting like $100. This makes no sense. If you bet $100, you're either betting for fun, but you really like betting for fun, that's fine. But if you're betting $100 with the goal of making money, there's like a couple PowerSlap events a year. Let's just say you were really good and you made 50% returns. That would be $400 each event. And let's say there's like 6 events in a year. You're going to make what? Like $2,000? Is that really worth your $2,400? Is that really worth your time?
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
So bet really seriously, 4 figures and up, or don't bet at all. Because if you're here to bet little money, just have fun. Just don't worry about analyzing this, and just have fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just treat it like a night of the movies.
I used to do it with UFC cards, where this is where it's like my dopamine receptors are fried. I need money on sports to really be interested. I'll watch a UFC event, but man, having a little bit of money makes it more fun. So for me, like I would watch UFC. And I would just pick whose name seemed cooler. And that would be my way. I'd bet $50 on each name who seemed cooler. And I actually made about $300 with that strategy, all in all, over like 4 or 5 events, which just goes to show, even if you suck at this, you can always get lucky, and even if you're good at this, you can always get unlucky.
Yeah.
But I was just getting lucky. I was literally just picking like, his name seems cool, I'm on him. And I would always bet on like the main event. I would just always bet on like the Dagestani guys. That's always a, easy strategy. Just bet on the wrestler to beat the striker, like 100%. Simple shit like that.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of just betting whatever.
So do you think there'll come a day where, and other pods have talked about this, but coming from a bettor's perspective, does betting on something like the coin toss interest you, or no?
So as of the coin toss, it's kind of interesting. So I'm personally of the belief it's not rigged. I don't get the people who think the coin toss is rigged.
Same camp.
Like
it's so regulated, there's no way.
Yeah, and the truth of it is, if they rigged it, they should be picking better people to give the coin toss winning too. Like the truth of it is like, let's say for example, you want I'll give a good example. So for KO Chris can't go second against some of these guys. He's just gonna not do very well. So he needs to be going first. So if the coin toss was rigged, they'd be having him go first basically every time, trying to get that, wow, fucking KO Chris got another knockout, man. No way. But I don't know the data, but I don't think he's gone first every time. The only real conspiracy that to my help, in my opinion, holds some water is Wolverine. Wolverine has never won a coin toss, and he is really boring. So
isn't that fascinating?
And the odds on that are pretty insane. Like, how could he have really never won one? But at the same time, man, if they're going to rig it, why are they rigging it against one dude? I feel like there'd be a bunch of signs of this, and there just isn't. But in my opinion, what I think should happen is they should do the coin toss right there on stage, and they should have the athletes find out literally when they're walking up to the podium, flip the coin toss. Okay, it's heads. You're going first. And the bettors should go fuck themselves. And if you want to be careful, you want to be careful. But I also think that from a betting perspective, you like to know the game that you're having to play. I don't want to bet on KO Chris when he's going second, because he's going to get knocked out. So, or Darren Godfrey against Kanakoa. That thing has a lot to do with the coin toss. Are you kidding me? If Kanakoa is going second, I don't want a penny on that guy. So, you got to be a little careful with this stuff. But it's like, if Kanakoa is going first, I absolutely might bet on Kanakoa, just because, man, he's never gotten to apply his power because Darren keeps flinching. So, it's so difficult to really be able to properly, there's no right way to do it. but you could do it at like and I guess I was gonna say you could do it at the weigh-ins or whatever, but people would still say it's rigged.
Right.
I don't know. It's tough to do. Like I heard a great saying the other day. It was like, this is about flat earthers. If the earth was a sphere, there's people who say it's flat and it is a sphere, right?
Right.
But if the earth was flat, there would be people who say it's a sphere. There's just always going to be people who believe everything's fake and
That's real.
Nothing's enough for anybody. So
yeah.
But in my opinion, make the coin flips more public than it currently is. But I'll also say for Slap News, because they keep putting out like, oh, well, we uploaded a video, so we know it's legit. That video doesn't prove shit. I don't know when that was filmed. I don't know who filmed that. I don't know anything. So them acting like they've proved the coin flip is legitimate is giving some credence to the coin flip tinfoil hat people. Because if you start telling everybody, oh no, we've proved it, and then you didn't fucking prove it, I see where they're coming from a little bit. But I'm not one of the tinfoil hat people. It is legitimate. So it's very difficult. But
I love that. It's funny. There are tinfoil hat wearers in every single subject in life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was funny when they first started talking about showing like about the coin toss. This is a long time ago, months ago. It might have been a year ago now, but they're not a year ago. Anyway, it's been some time. And what I said was in the comments, I'd love to see that live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when they posted that video, they actually liked my comment just to say like, hey, we pulled it off. We did it. And, I was on board. I was like, shit, they got whoever representing the commission there, on and on. That was good enough for me. And I even made a comment of like, a coin toss should not be this exciting, but it was from a slap nerd's perspective. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Like me, like the coin toss results coming out, that's like, holy shit.
It's exciting, right?
When I open Instagram and I see that, like, Slap News, they'll post 4 and then you swipe and you see the next 4. I'm like, literally, I'm looking at the first 4 and I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't wait to swipe. I'm so, and then I'll swipe and I'll be like, oh shit, he's going first. I'm totally, but I know there's like probably 10 people who give a shit, and I'm one of the 10.
Well,
but like most people don't give a shit.
No, but here's the thing though, bro. It's like, it's crazy to think about because Dana and TKO or whoever, Fertitta's brothers, whoever's putting the money towards PowerSlap, Dana said it himself. The thing that makes these things die is the lack of money, which is why the UFC could have died several times over, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't lack money. And so a PowerSlap, now that they have the production and the money, it's just a matter of time,
Mm-hmm.
Look, we don't have a crystal ball, whatever, life happens, but let's be real. It's not going to go anywhere. It might have a peak in a year or 2 or 3 years, right? And then maybe level out and then have peaks and valleys like UFC. But the point is, there's only 10 people now that care. But in a year from now, hey, man, it might be a couple hundred. What I'm saying?
I mean, the thing is, I do think PowerSlap is growing, and I do think it's going to grow. I don't quite believe that it's going to be bigger than the UFC, but I definitely think, like, for example, my girlfriend, we were watching UFC, and I also bet on UFC, like, somewhat seriously. I have a buddy who makes an AI model, and I basically tail his AI model. But I watched the UFC just, like, as a fan. We were watching UFC, and she was like, this is too bloody for me. And I told her, I go, well, they just announced another PowerSlap event. I'm going to this one in Vegas, but I'm not going to be at the one in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. She goes, I'd way rather watch that. And when I saw that, I was like, man, there are literally people out there who are like, I don't want to watch UFC, but I'll totally watch these guys slap each other. Because you talk to a UFC fan, they're like, that stuff's disgusting. I would never.
Right.
But it's like, there's a lot of there's the people who don't watch fighting. Those are the people who are interesting. They don't like the UFC, but the slapping thing, that's a little more interesting to them. It's simple. Anyone can watch it. It takes, I believe it's much more in depth from the really understanding what you're looking at. But who gives a fuck if you understand what you're looking at? I don't fight MMA. I watch MMA. I don't know what I'm looking at. When these guys are doing jujitsu, I don't know when one of them's in danger. I know the rear naked choke. I remember when fucking, who is it? Someone did a Kimura. I remember seeing the Kimura. I was like, okay, now I know that one.
Yeah.
I don't really know shit. I'm just watching, and I could tell when, the hands like this is probably not good. But like, that's all I know. But we all watch UFC because we all love it anyways, even if none of us have ever rolled on a mat. So I did use to box, but and boxing is probably like 20% of the UFC. There's all this wrestling and this clinch and all this stuff that I don't
so much
get.
more to it for sure. Yeah.
But with slap, you don't need to know what you're looking at to enjoy it. And no one like in that room of people cheering, none of them know what they're looking at. They're just enjoying the show, and it's a great show.
Yeah, I think that's why the wrestlers are such a good fit, because they know from jump it's a show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to validate from what you're saying, dude, my wife is exactly the same way. I can't tell you how many UFC matches I've watched. She could give a shit. And then we go attend PowerSlap once, bro. She went with me to the next one, The next one, Nola. If we had the cash and the means, we'd go to the ones in Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and on and on. And because there's nothing to understand. It's just to know what's happening in those 3 seconds or whatever it is. And it's exciting. And that's happens over and over. So the dopamine's real. And the casual fan becomes, oh, this is cool. I can watch this. That's exactly what it is.
And also the other thing that I appreciate about them is their event pacing is terrific.
Like, I love it. I love it.
It's go. And like in between rounds, it'll be like a minute, maybe a minute 30, if there's a foul and stuff and the match is over. Okay, let's do our interview. Get you out of here. Next guys are walking out. Versus I don't know I'm sure you saw Canelo and Crawford.
Oh yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
The fucking fight ended and then it was like an hour. And then it was an hour before Canelo and Crawford were throwing punches at each other.
Yeah.
And there's literally like a fucking concert. I'm not here to watch a concert. I want to watch Canelo and Crawford fight. Yeah, and I don't even watch boxing. I already don't want to be here. I hate boxing. Yeah. But I'm like reluctantly tuning in because you guys have marketed this so hard. I'll watch it. But come on, man, just show me the damn fight. I'm not here to watch song and dance. Literally song and dance.
No, dude, literally song and dance. Especially if the Paul bro, Jake Paul is putting it on. He's literally going to have a concert of Bieber, before they fight and shit. And so, but dude, it's so real. And I think I don't go too nerdy when it comes to like Dana and Turkala Sheik or how I don't want to fuck up his name, but you know what I mean? I don't nerd out too much on what Dana's doing in boxing because I'm more of a MMA guy. Obviously PowerSlap's top of mind, but he does have 1,000,000% right. Exactly what you just said. He would say there's a boxing match and there's a podcast in between. There's a boxing match and another podcast in between. Absolutely. And no true fight fan gives a shit because we already know who they are, where they came from, their story. Let's see who's the better man. You convinced me
to watch. I'm already here. Like I don't need to see the interviews. I don't need to. I'm here.
I'm already here.
You got me.
Yep.
You got me.
Yeah,
I get that marketing before. You need to do all that marketing, but once I'm here, just show me the damn fight.
Just show me the damn fight. Like, and the whole night, I kept saying over and over, this is why I hate boxing. Just show me Canelo, show me Crawford, and let's see who the bad man is tonight. And I could not agree more with you because boxing, it is, it's been around for so long. It is such a historical sport. And the fact that they can't figure out that people just want to watch the sport is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's like, that's what the UFC did properly. They got rid of all the bullshit. The best fight the best. And there's no song and dance. There's no concert. Let's just go. And it's perfect. It's every UFC event. I've never watched UFC and then been like, fuck, man, I wish I didn't watch that. Versus every time I watch a boxing fight, I get anticipated. I get excited. I tune in and I'm like, this was fucking shit. I felt the same way about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. That was garbage.
Dude, that was hard.
The fight sucked. The in-between sucked. This sucked. Like the whole thing was terrible. I wish I didn't show up.
No, dude. And that's the power of marketing. It really is. Because, bro, I had convinced myself Tyson was going to murder this fool. Like, you could not convince me otherwise because he's hitting those mitts like a maniac. And then they fight and you get reminded, shit, he's like 58 years old. Well, this is not cool, dude.
You know, it's funny. I actually made a few $100s off that match, but I bet in a very unique way. So prior to the fight, they'd said that there was a no knockout clause. And it was because it was an exhibition match. They're allowed to put any rules they want. So they said, we're not going to knock each other out. There was a huge public outcry about that. So they were like, okay, we're getting away with a no knockout clause. They're really going at it. And I said, I guarantee in the locker room, they said, hey, Jake, don't knock out Mike Tyson. Okay.
Dude.
And then I bet they said to Mike Tyson, you go as hard as you fucking want. You try, you're 60 years old and you're barely fucking walking to the cage. You do whatever the hell you want if you want to try to see if you can knock this kid out. But I know they told Jake, don't knock him out. Just don't. Because I know over the course of a fight, a 60-year-old man is going to wilt. If we're in round 5, 6, 7, like Mike should have nothing on paper. So to think that it would go the distance makes no sense. If they're really in there to kill each other, Jake Paul will fucking destroy him. I knew that. And I was thinking the fight might be rigged, but if the fight's rigged, it's for Mike Tyson to win by knockout. That's the only way it's rigged.
Interesting. Because everybody always thinks the opposite, right? Jake pays them to fall. Jake pays them to not, fight as hard.
Jake doesn't do that. He just takes easy matchups. And then, for example, so for this next one, like it's going to be him and I think it's Tank Davis.
It's Tank, yeah.
So Jake Paul will win this one, and I will bet money on him to win this one. And the simple
dude, I love
reason
your
why
fucking confidence. Like, I think of that and I'm like, there's no way he beats Tank. Experienced, on and on.
this is my explanation. So first things first, boxing is rigged. They do rig fights. We know this, right?
Yeah, dude.
And you need to think about boxing isn't about this fight. It's about the next fight. How do you market Jake Paul against a real boxer when he loses to a guy that's way lighter than him?
Like Canelo.
You can't do that. The
How
way
do you promote
can
Canelo
do that,
and Paul if he
the way you
win
do
this?
that is you have him beat a really skilled lighter guy, and then we're going to give him a really skilled heavier guy, and we're going to give him a more heavy guy, and we're giving him a guy. So right now they're taking a light guy in his prime. He will win, and that's why it's an exhibition. He doesn't want it on his record. Jake Paul will win by decision, is my prediction. I'll add that stipulation. It's by decision. Tank Davis will be able to walk off and say, Jake Paul was way bigger than me. It wasn't fair. Jake will be able to walk off and say, see, I told you I can beat a real boxer. And they set up for the next fight where Jake Paul will get a slightly bigger real boxer. And when it's an exhibition, I'm telling you it's rigged. If it's not an exhibition, it may be more legitimate.
Interesting,
but
man.
That Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was one of the easiest picks I ever made. I knew that they were not going to allow Jake Paul on live television to knock out a 6-year-old Mike Tyson, because that would be disgusting to watch. Let's be real. We would all hate watching that.
Right.
Like, it was tough watching him lose a decision where he was getting his ass beat. I would not have left that night happy if, fucking Mike Tyson's face planted into the canvas and 20-something-year-old Jake Paul is fucking parading around. That would leave a terrible taste in all of our mouths. And they know they got all these people watching. They're going to have it go to a little pitter-pat decision, and then at the end, we're just going to say Jake Paul won. Because we don't want, it's okay for Mike to lose. He's 60. If Jake loses, where's the next fight? He just lost to a 60-year-old. There's no next fight. So
yeah, it's funny, man.
That's the way boxing is rigged right there. You got to think about the next fight. That's how you bet on this fight.
I love it, dude. I love it. Well, dude, Henry, man, the time's flown by for me. I think I could talk to you for another hour and a half, bro. I'm not even kidding, but this was fun, dude. So, all right. To all the novice bettors out there, people that don't understand PowerSlap, what do you think is the easiest bet to go have some fun? I got $200. Do I bet the over-under, or do I bet for the knockout, or do I just bet for the winner?
How about this? Just because I'm a nice guy, I will give away one prediction right here.
I love it.
Very high EV. Let me quickly check my notes. I'll pick a good one here. Let me see.
Exclusive betting inside, everybody.
All right. Nate Bernard will beat Aaron Turner. How about that?
Holy shit. I'm not even going to say anything. We'll leave it at that, fam. All right.
There you go.
Henry, where can they find you on social media, buddy?
It's basically Henry Nehring on everything. I'll send you my socials. You can put them in the description if you'd like. I'm Henry Nehring on YouTube as well. I make arm wrestling content. I know you guys don't watch arm wrestling, so no problem. But yeah, you guys don't have to follow me on anything. I barely post anything that would be interesting to slap people, but here I am.
Dude, I love it. All right. Well, hey, dude, let's hang out for a minute and we'll let this bitch upload.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.